So, look, this has been a two-way street. Aaron Rodgers has been terrific, and the Jets have given him some freedom and some input. Rodgers telling Peter King in an interview, I enjoy coming to Robert Saleh with ideas, or as maybe in a consultant role, like, hey, I've been other places, I see this, I see that, and just him being kind of wide open, and maybe we disagree. I respect the hell out of him when he's like, well, I hear what you're saying, but I think I'm going to do it this way. I love his openness to critically think about the stuff I'm saying or another group of guys might say to him. So let's dive into this here, and Dan Graziano was up with us early this morning from the West Coast, and we have a million things from Danny, but let's start with this. I think people see this, and they see the word consultant, and they think to themselves, oh, Aaron Rodgers now thinks he has some official role. This is much the same. Like, the bottom line of it is this. They're listening to what he thinks, right? They're consulting with him because it makes sense, because he is a football genius, and you don't get him just because he throws good passes.
Correct.
You get him because he knows how to win.
We're seeing video from training camp of him instructing players, talking to coaches. The word collaboration is a word I hear coming out of Florham Park a lot, that he is working together. And Robert Saleh's strength is his vulnerability, his openness, and his ability to have this communication. He's a type of coach, it's that open door policy, and this is working. I think people want to poke holes in this. They want to say, look at this quarterback coming in, trying to run it the way he wants to do, and everybody has to bow down. Yeah, that's how it's working. And that's going to prove to have success because he knows what he's doing. There are a lot of people in that building who've never been around a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, including Robert Saleh. So he's doing the right thing by doing this.
I mean, 90% of the players who ever played in the NFL have never been around a quarterback like him. He's one of the best that ever did it. You were there the other day. And again, D. Wood, for those who don't know, a former Jet, and you're still very close, and you were at training camp the other day. What vibe are you getting out of this Rodgers?
Immaculate. I mean, it was just a lot of, it was so much energy. Obviously, I was there when Dalvin Cook was taking his visit, and the fans were all in it. All the players in the organization, everyone just seemed like they were, reaching out and kind of, welcoming him in, and just kind of just having dialogue between themselves and Dalvin Cook.
Right.
And obviously, you could just see the energy that Aaron Rodgers, brings to that, not only to the team, but the whole organization, the whole building. I think Aaron Rodgers has had an impact on the whole building over there. So again, when you're talking about a, four-time league MVP, first ballot Hall of Famer, absolutely, you're going to be in a collaborative mode with someone who's done it at the highest of highest levels in the National Football League.
And Dan Graziano, I mean, if I had a dime for every time you and I have sat on this set psychoanalyzing Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, we would both have a lot of dimes. But the bottom line of it is, this makes sense to me, right? One of the things Rodgers felt was unloved, underappreciated for whatever reason. Maybe that is just sort of part and parcel of his personality. I think the Jets have done a very good job of making him feel appreciated and loved, and I think that is the right strategy when you bring a guy like him in.
No question about it, Greeny. And look, Robert Saleh and Packers coach Matt LaFleur are extremely close friends, like in each other's wedding party level friends. So Saleh has the playbook. He knows. He was watching closely, and he certainly talked to people on the Packers staff about managing Rodgers and what it was that Rodgers was upset about. Remember, I mean, he came to training camp a couple of years ago with his whole list of grievances about how the team never listened to him, about personnel decisions, all this kind of stuff. So obviously, if you're the Jets and you bring him in, and you really need this to work, and you need it to work right away, you're going to make sure you don't repeat. I don't know whether those were mistakes by the Green Bay front office, but you're going to at least make sure, because you know this is a guy who, at least if you're not going to listen to him, you need to make sure he feels like you're at least willing to listen to him, and obviously the Jets are doing that.
Look, I hear give and take, too, right? This started from when the Jets were courting him, and they had that conversation with him before the trade was official. What are some things we can do for you? Who are some players you like? Who are some play callers you like, right? Nathaniel Hackett had already joined the team, but then he was able to have we'll call them his friends, come join the New York Jets. They put that effort forward. They made an effort to try to get Odell Beckham Jr. They were close to getting Odell, right, before everything changed. And then you see Aaron Rodgers take a pay cut. I don't necessarily think that was Aaron Rodgers being nice out of the goodness of his heart because he wants to be a good person. He wants to win.
Right.
He wants to give the Jets the ability to go get the players like Dalvin Cook, who we saw take a visit this weekend, so they can win a Super Bowl. So the fact that it's working hand in hand, everyone wants the same thing, the same goal, win. He's
done everything right so far, including that moment when he stood up for his teammates. Danny, you got one more quick thought on this one before I move to something else. Go.
Yeah, just on the pay cut last week, like calling around about that, like the popular opinion was, why would he do something like this? Does he know what their next big move is? Is he like in communication with them about what who those guys could be that they could go get with that savings? And it sounds like he's had some conversations like that.
Absolutely. See Cook, Dalvin. So we'll see how that works.
He's not going to cost that much.
One way or another. So we heard Swagoo talking about the keep my coach's name out your mouth. For those who did not follow this over the weekend, that comes out of the Sean Payton comments. Now, Diana is going out to the Jets camp right after the show ends today because Nathaniel Hackett, who was Denver's head coach a year ago and is now the Jets offensive coordinator, he'll be speaking for the first time since those Sean Payton quotes. In case you don't remember what Sean Payton said, let me show you again in that interview with USA Today, in which he had a lot to say. Very specifically, he said this about Nathaniel Hackett last year. Everything I heard about last season, we're doing the opposite. It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was. So, Danny, you were at Broncos camp just a day or two ago. And in what sense, look at the look on his face, right when this thing was hot. What can you tell us about the fallout from that?
Look, I was there not the day that these comments came out. I was there the next day when Payton had a press conference and sort of, fell on his sword, right? And basically said, I shouldn't have done it. I still had my Fox TV hat on, all that stuff that he said. It didn't go over great in the building, right? Because in the comments to USA Today, he said something about the GM who's still there, the team president who just got there and was hired by the new ownership group. My sense of it is that the reaction within the Broncos building to Payton's comments was very strongly negative, maybe even by some people who are employers of his. And that he had to walk it back as a result of that. And he may have some repairing of relationships to do in that building. But I think, the one thing that he did say, he's standing up for his quarterback. He's making sure his team knows that he has its back. And if there's a benefit to it, then it probably comes from that.
And I know, Diana, that you have spoken to Sean Payton about this directly, and I think there is a feeling that's what this was. It was about trying to take some of the heat maybe off of Russell Wilson or others if he could do it. He may not have done it the right way, but I think was that the intention?
The intention was to take the pressure off his quarterback, who is highly criticized, and the microscope is on him, and really put the expectations and success of the Denver Broncos on the shoulders of Sean Payton. This was him trying to step up, say, these guys have not been given the things that they need as professional athletes at the best at what they do to have success. While it comes down to their own ability and taking care of their body, all the things that were happening inside the building were the problem for Payton when he walked into Denver. And those were things I remember talking to him about early on, things that bothered him about Denver. He wanted to change everything. And look, he is a bit of a control freak. He comes from that Parcells coaching tree where they want to have their hands on every single detail. I mean, this is a man who cared about how much smoke was coming out of the smoke machine at the Superdome when they called out Drew Brees. I mean, that's how attention detail or detail-oriented he is. He knows the message was too strong, though. He's going to call Robert Saleh. He's going to call Nathaniel Hackett at some point over the next few weeks and say, look, I went too far in this. But here's something I think that's important to add. A lot of the things that Sean Payton said in that interview, after having conversations with other people in the league outside the Broncos and the Jets, have all said the same thing, which is what Sean Payton says is right.
It's true.
It's right. It just wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't proper.
He said the stuff out loud that you're not supposed to say out loud.
You're not supposed to say it, and you shouldn't.
I get it. But then that brings us to the next part of this conversation, Damian Woody, which is if indeed Sean Payton felt a need to create this cover for his quarterback, what does that tell us?
What kind of fragile state is Russell Wilson in? It's like, even Russ has to understand, like, I stunk last year. Everyone knows, he knows it, everyone knows it, the big eye in the sky doesn't lie. And granted, you can talk about the coaching, and the coaching was bad, there's no question about it. But some of the stuff we saw from Russell Wilson last year was like, oh my God, like this guy this is not the same guy that we saw in Seattle all those years. Like he fell off a cliff last year. And so I don't know if his psyche, like this whole Sean Payton thing, trying to build up his psyche, I don't know. His psyche seems fragile to me.
What sense did you get of the Russell Wilson of it all when you were there, Danny?
So Russell Wilson, as you know, is an open book who wears his emotions on his sleeves at press conferences and tells you everything that's going. No, that's Aaron Rodgers. No, Russell Wilson gave a press conference while I was there, said nothing at all. What are we hearing behind the scenes about him? He's obviously slimmed down. Anybody who was there last year and is there this year says he looks noticeably leaner. Even some of the Seattle people I was talking to the last couple days there say they can see it in the footage. The question is, can he play within the structure of an offense? Like the biggest play he had the first practice I saw was a long touchdown run, and the crowd went nuts. And Payton even said afterwards, that's the kind of thing we want him to use his legs more when the play breaks down. But that's never been a problem with Russell Wilson. The problem with Russell Wilson has been, can he operate on script? And Payton's offense will impose a lot of structure. So if Russell can't learn to play and stay within that structure, then I think they're going to continue to have issues, even if he can continue to run the way he used to early in his career when the play does break down.
Quick thought on this, Diana, the Sean Payton-Russell Wilson marriage.
I'm looking at the graphic, and it says 9-time Pro Bowl selection. I think in all this, we tend to just forget what Russell Wilson is. And maybe with a quarterback coach at the level and a play caller of Sean Payton, we can see a Russell that we haven't seen in years.
Yeah, it's one of the most interesting storylines as we go into the beginning of the season.
Yes.
Will the real Russell Wilson please stand up? Don't forget to watch Get Up every weekday morning on ESPN between 8 and 10 a.m. Eastern. And stay tuned for more exclusive Get Up content on YouTube as well.